Republicans could breathe a sigh of relief Wednesday after their candidate won the first congressional election since President Trump took office. But it wasn't easy. Republican Ron Estes beat out Democrat James Thompson by just 7 points, a shakeup in this reliably red district special election. Estes will fill the seat left vacant by CIA Director Mike Pompeo. Pompeo won the seat in the heavily conservative district by more than 30 points last year. But this isn't the only race getting national attention. Georgia is having a special primary in its 6th district next Tuesday to fill Health and Human Services Secretary Tom Price's seat. Price had a closer battle in November than Pompeo did. Democrats think their candidate, Jon Ossoff, has a good chance of snagging Price's seat. Both races are making headlines, leaving some wondering, are these red state challenges a reaction to President Trump's rocky start? I want to bring in Bryan Lowry from the Kansas City Star and Greg Bluestein from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution for a closer look at these races. Welcome to you both.
Thanks for having me.
So, Bryan, let me start with you. The Kansas special election appeared to have national Republicans worried. President Trump tweeted about it Tuesday, even recorded a robocall asking people to go out and vote. Did you see that same kind of enthusiasm for the Democrat in this race from his party?
We saw a lot of enthusiasm from local Democrats, but we really didn't see much enthusiasm from national Democrats. The DCCC didn't even get involved in this race until the final 24 hours when they provided some phone banking on behalf of Democrat James Thompson. They did not spend money, whereas the NRCC was putting in money towards attack ads against James Thompson. You know, Ted Cruz flew down to Wichita. There was really an all-hands-on-deck approach by national Republicans to help make sure that Estes got over the line, and the same was not the case for national Democrats.
Well, let's talk about Wichita. It went red in the presidential election, but more voters sided with Thompson there in this race. How do you think that happened?
It happened for a couple of reasons. Now, I know a lot of people are very tempted to connect this to Donald Trump, and he's not irrelevant to this, but you have to keep in mind that there was a lot going on locally. Donald Trump's only been president for a few months. Sam Brownback has been governor for 6 years, and the Thompson campaign was very deliberate in tying Ron Estes to Sam Brownback, who suffered from low approval ratings. Kansas is actually a state where Democrats gained seats in the legislature, even though Trump won the state by double digits. And one reason they made gains was because Brownback's so unpopular. So Brownback hurt, and then Estes ran a campaign that I think a lot of people on the Republican side weren't particularly happy with. He skipped a lot of events early on. He cut this very strange ad where he was just standing in a swamp asking people to help him drain it. And Thompson ran a much more active campaign and got grassroots Democrats more excited than Estes did.
It's interesting, and it's important for our national audience to understand that very sort of local dynamic there in Kansas. Greg, let me turn to you. The race in Georgia is a little bit different because you've got quite a number of candidates on the ballot. Explain this to us, and why is this race getting so much attention?
Yeah, you've got 18 candidates on the ballot, including 11 Republicans and 5 Democrats. And this is a district that overwhelmingly supported Republican Mitt Romney, John McCain, and Tom Price year after year after year, but also barely gave Donald Trump the edge. He only carried the district by about 1.5 points in November. So there's a lot of support there for sort of an anti-Trump candidate, and Jon Ossoff has filled that void. He has raised more than $8 million for his congressional campaign, and 95% of his donors come from out of the state. So a lot of them see him as sort of the conduit for their anti-Trump energy.
And so just give us a sense of the mechanics of this race. What happens here if someone doesn't get more than 50% of the vote? You've got so many people on the ballot.
Yeah, all 18 of the candidates will be on the same ballot regardless of party, and the top 2 vote getters, if no one gets a majority of the vote, the top 2 vote getters will square off in a June 20th runoff. But Ossoff's campaign is hovering in the 40s, and they think they can get to the 50% mark.
So, I mean, at this point, do you think that the best chance then is for him to win next week, or perhaps go for the runoff, have a chance at the runoff?
The conventional wisdom is that his best and maybe only chance is to win next week, because after that, you've got the entire full force of the Republican Party united behind one GOP candidate, and already millions of dollars have been spent on both sides, but the Republican groups have already spent more than $3 million trying to thwart Jon Ossoff here.
I wonder, Greg, in the wake of Tuesday's election in Kansas, have you noticed any changes in campaigning in your area?
Yeah, I mean, it's already became a big topic of conversation. And I interviewed Ossoff this morning, and he said, you know, if Kansas can be this close, then Georgia he expects to be even closer and give him the edge. And then Republicans say, they just point at Estes and say, hey, he won. As simple as that.
Right, right. All right, well, let me ask both of you this next question. Are you seeing these close calls for Republicans as a reaction to President Trump, or are voters there concerned about other things? I know, Bryan, you talked about the unpopularity of the Republican Governor Sam Brownback, but let me start with you. What is it that you think, when you look at the larger picture here and how voters in your state are feeling, what is it that they care most about?
Well, I think in terms of Trump, I think Trump helped give Thompson his activists, the people who were going to go out and knock on doors. I think it's Brownback who gave, you know, the people who were going to go out in the polls and maybe make it as close as it was. Kansans care about things like education. They care about fiscal responsibility, and that's something that we haven't had. We haven't had a stable budget in Kansas in a long time. One thing that happened that ties state and national politics together during this time was the collapse of the Republican health care bill, and then also Governor Brownback vetoed a bill that would have expanded Medicaid in Kansas. So that gave James Thompson a great opportunity to talk about Medicaid expansion. It helped get some voters out. Obviously, Estes was able to pull through a victory because people trusted him on enough other issues. You know, he certainly had the support of the anti-abortion community, which is a very powerful interest group in Kansas. He did talk about fiscal responsibility, and I think there were, you know, both candidates were doing that. So in the end, Estes won. It just was a lot closer than we've seen in Kansas since the 1990s.
Yeah, extremely close. Greg, what about you? What do voters there care about?
Well, Georgia 6th is not your traditional Republican district. It is very conservative, but it's more establishment-friendly conservative and very affluent and very highly educated. And the health care, just like in Kansas, the doomed health care plan played a big role, especially because this is Tom Price's backyard. And you saw many of the Republicans in the field break with the party and say that they would have voted against it. So that became an early dividing line. And of course, jobs. And that's where Jon Ossoff is really trying to maximize his campaign. He's talking about, you know, turning the district into the Silicon Valley of the South. He went to an aeronautics manufacturing company today to talk to business owners about how he could help them. So we're hearing some of the same concerns we always hear about the economy and healthcare.
Yeah, interesting dynamics in both your states. Bryan Lowry and Greg Bluestein, thank you both for your perspective. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Have a great day.